has a movie, show, or video that scarred them for life as a child. As a kid, I was pretty terrified because I got traumatized after watching that German coffee commercial. If you know, you know. Or maybe the real scarring occurred when I fell asleep and woke up to Tim Curry's Pennywise baring his teeth at me. Perhaps it's comforting to know that thousands of kids were just as scared as I was when I saw these things. But they weren't the only things that terrified me to bits. In spirit of sharing my childhood fears with you all, I'm going to tell the story of the relatively unknown Stephen King miniseries that stole hours upon hours of sleep from me, Storm of the Century. Lucky for us, upon my rewatch, I noticed that there's an abundance of DILFs. And if you're anything like me, on a cold winter's night, nothing warms you up quite like a DILF. Storm of the Century takes place on the fictional Little Tall Island off the coast of Maine in the winter of 1989. A huge blizzard is about to descend upon the town, and the residents are preparing to take shelter. Little Tall is an isolated, tiny community with only a few hundred people. As one might guess, this town is full of secrets, lies, and abnormally attractive fathers. The first episode of the miniseries begins with good old Martha Clarendon. Martha lives on Little Tall in a house by herself. She's just minding her business, watching the weather report when the doorbell rings. She opens the door to some random man she's never seen before. He's a shadowed figure, his face obscured. He says,
"Born in lust, turn to dust. Born in sin, come on in."
The guy proceeds to fling her walker across the lawn and whack her with a cane. I guess we're really starting off with a bang here. And yeah, I shouldn't laugh, but the way the walker is just flying through the wind it's funny. I'm sorry. We then go back into Martha's house and focus in on the stranger, who wears normal clothing, but he's carrying a bloodied cane with a silver wolf head at the top. The camera pans away and we're looking at Martha's teapot as we hear the stranger singing,
"I'm a little teapot, short and stout."
He sits in Martha's chair and is watching the TV as it's playing these Punishments of God advertisements. He sips his tea and then suddenly we cut to the town market. It's here where we're first introduced to our head DILF in charge, Mike Anderson. Besides being a hunk, Mike is the town's constable as well as its market manager, I think. Anyway, the market's busy because people are panic buying to prepare for the oncoming storm, and Mike gets a call from his similarly hot wife, Molly, who runs a daycare, about how one of the kids stuck her head in the banister. The father of this particular kid, Alton Hatcher, is also in the store and overhears that something's up, and he and Mike head out to investigate. They solve the stuck head issue, and then we get this absolute banger of a scene.
Davy Hope on the top of the key, clock running out. He shakes, he bakes, he...
Davy Hopewell hears whispering outside of Martha Clarendon's house, and soon we catch a glimpse of our mystery man again. The camera pans up and we finally catch a glimpse of the man's face, but his eyes are closed. Baby's sleeping. Davy calls for Mrs. Clarendon, and when the man opens his eyes, they're completely black. When I tell you that child me absolutely lost her fucking mind at these black eyeballs, I can't even describe the amount of nightmares I was having for weeks after watching this. I gotta say, child me was a fucking pussy. Anyway, Davy walks inside to find Martha's body on the floor, not knowing that there's a man in the other room. The man calls out and insults Davy's basketball skills and tells him to give up.
You'll never even play first string in high school. You're slow. You're a dwarf.
Again, I'm sorry for laughing, but did Stephen King honestly expect me not to? Davy runs outside and screams for help. Meanwhile, the man waves his finger, the basketball comes to him, and then he just chucks it right at the TV. The town gathers around Davy as he's screaming in the street, and the town manager, Robbie Beals, decides to take a look himself. Robbie makes it up to Martha's house and discovers her body. He hears the TV on and walks into the living room where the man stares at the broken but still playing screen. Robbie asks who he is, and he replies,
You were with a whore in Boston when your mother died in Machias.
I mean, sir, you did not have to talk to him like that. Actually, honestly, Robbie is so freaking annoying, like he does deserve it. The man says that Robbie's mother has turned cannibal in hell and is waiting to eat him when he gets there. Robbie runs off like the little bitch he is, and the man gets back to his TV where the newscaster says that this could be the end of life as we know it, and he says,
Seems unlikely, but we can always hope.
And we're back.
Period. Robbie calls for help, and soon the entire town knows that Martha is dead, and the man who killed her is just hanging out in her house. The storm starts ramping up, and Mike and Hatch go over to Martha's house to see what's going on. They find her body, and Hatch is absolutely appalled at what he sees. And then they find the man, and then they tell him to put his hands up. And again, I'm sorry, but the way this man puts his hands up is killing me. I truly cannot believe I was so terrified of this man as a child because all he does is make me laugh. He eats a cookie while getting arrested. Honestly, it has the energy of that one To Catch a Predator guy that actually took Chris Hansen up on the offer for the cookie.
Hungry? How does it taste?
Great. Wow.
Mike takes him outside and asks him finally what his name is.
Andre Linoge.
Sexy. They put Andre in the van, and while Mike and Hatch talk, we can hear some whispering, and Andre actually hisses, and we see his demon teeth for the first time. Of course, in Little Tall, the jail and the market are in the same building. While Mike waits outside of the building with Andre, Andre stares at him blankly and says,
Give me what I want and I'll go away.
Cryptic, what could it mean? Mike asks what he wants, and Andre just continues to stare. The back entrance isn't opening, so Mike has to take Andre through the market full of the panic buyers to get him to his cell. Hatch warns everyone before Andre comes through, and they're all lined up when he walks in with Mike. Andre, clearly unknown to everyone, calls out specific people and exposes their dirty laundry. Peter Godso and his weed business. Oh my God.
Lucky you've got the marijuana business to fall back on.
Cat Withers getting an abortion.
It's just an in-office procedure these days, nothing to it.
Then Daddy Mike's son, Ralphie, just happens to come up behind Andre. Andre picks him up, says he has a fairy saddle on his nose, and kisses him. Mike and Molly freak out, as most parents would after a fucking creepy-ass man picks their kid up and kisses him. Not to mention that everybody knows he just killed someone. They get Ralphie back, and Billy, Cat Withers' boyfriend, launches towards Andre and tries to beat him up, but is thrown to the ground. Andre stares at him, tells him to clean himself up, and his nose starts to bleed. Then Andre drops this fucking banger.
What do you know about my sister?
That horses aren't all she enjoys riding when the weather's hot. Right, Billy?
Anyway, they get Andre into the cell, and he has nothing on him. No wallet, no ID, nothing. Mike goes a little insane.
Where's your blood donor card? Where's your discount card from Value Mart? Where's your wallet?
Justifiably so. The storm has gotten so bad at this point that they've lost communication with the mainland, and Mike kicks everybody out of the market. Peter and Hatch stay back to keep an eye on Andre. All the while, we can hear whispering and see Andre staring menacingly at the men through the cell. Mike goes back to Martha's to take crime scene photos, and he sees "Give me what I want and I'll go away" written on the wall in blood. But when he goes to take the picture, it's gone. Back at the cell, Andre is whispering, and Peter has gone into a trance. Hatch is working on a crossword on the computer and is asking what the answers are. Andre will be mouthing them, and Peter will be just saying them very mechanically out loud. The storm has gotten significantly worse, and everybody's in the town hall getting ready to hunker down for the night. Hatch goes to the bathroom, leaving Peter alone with Andre. Andre is whispering, eyes black, and the cane is floating above Peter's head, snarling. At the same time, two other men are at some auto shop as the storm surges, and one is calling out for the other, Lloyd, who is writing the same phrase, "Give me what I want and I'll go away," in red paint on one of the cars, and the cane is floating at his back. Peter takes a rope, ties it up, and you can guess the rest, while Lloyd takes an axe and hits himself with it. I'll spare you the detail. I must have repressed the story because after Andre's black eyes, I remember nothing. So that's the end of the first episode. Doing great, okay? Episode 2 starts with the storm having significantly advanced. Mike comes back to find Peter dead, and Lloyd is also found dead. Word spreads fast about the death of Lloyd, and residents are left questioning as to why somebody who's just about to get married would do something so horrible to themselves. Back at the jail, Mike takes a look at the computer, and that crossword that Hatch was working on is now full of the "give me what I want and I'll go away" phrase. Ursula, Peter's wife, calls Hatch on the radio station to talk about Lloyd's death. The residents at the town hall really want Mike to come over, but Hatch can't let him because of Peter's death, so he kind of lies and he says that there's a situation at the station, so Mike can't come. Hatch gets out of the car and he stops. He looks over at the window and he sees Andre staring at him, and in an instant he's gone. Shiver me timbers. When Hatch gets back inside, he tells Mike and the other men that Lloyd is dead. Mike orders 2 of the men to go to the scene of Lloyd's death and get Robbie. Mike and Jack stay back with Andre. Hatch collects Robbie and they start back towards the constables. Ursula calls Hatch again and is asking why they're going back there, and Hatch lies again and says that the radio is breaking up. He then goes on to say that he doesn't know how to tell her that her husband is dead and that it's Mike's job to do it.
Let Mike tell her, that's his job. That's what they pay him for.
Like, come on, why does Daddy Mike have to do everything for you ungrateful ass people? Meanwhile, Mike is interrogating Andre and accuses him of being French.
Andre Lanoge. I take it you're French. Got a lot of people of French descent on the island.
Andre tells Mike that he started failing out of college and he cheated on a midterm.
You cheated on the midterm exam. Not even your wife knows that, does she?
Mike, why would you do that? I thought I could trust you. Mike says that he's lying, and Andre's like,
You ought to tell Ralphie sometime. It would make a nice bedtime story, I think. How Daddy got through college.
He then sets his sights on Jack, and he talks about how Jack assaulted a boy and knocked his eye out. He even says that Jack was kind of turned on by the guy and wondered what it would be like to, fornicate. Jack takes the gun and points it towards Andre as he's saying this, and it hits Mike. Luckily for us, he's got a bulletproof vest on and he's fine, but he's clearly agitated. Andre stands with his arms outstretched and like something in his fist, and Mike reaches for it, and I think it's the bullet. I can't really tell because I don't know shit about that kind of thing, so whatever. Spooky nonetheless. Are you guys spooked? I'm spooked. Do you guys remember that one couple from before, Kat and Billy? The one where the girl had an abortion and the guy was cheating on her? Basically, they have a confrontation. Billy's really mad at Kat for not telling him what was going on or including him in the decision. And then she comes right back at him for cheating on her, as she should. Meanwhile, in his cell, Andre is miming strangely. We see Andre miming, picking up something large above his head. And at the same time, Billy picks up this big can and the silver wolf head appears on it. Andre controls Billy and makes him walk over to Kat's back and raise the can above his head. Andre strikes it downward, but Billy resists, and Kat walks away unscathed. Suddenly, Kat finds the cane directly in front of her, and now Andre is controlling her. Andre sings, "I'm a little teapot," and begins to mime striking Billy with the cane. So, Kat does the same thing. Now Billy's dead. Kat, realizing what she's just done, drops the cane and screams bloody murder. Joanna at the town hall hears it, but her mother, Cora, tries to say that it's just the wind and there's nothing to worry about. Unconvinced, Joanna ventures into the storm to find a rather catatonic Kat, saying that she killed Billy and that the cane is the reason why. Meanwhile, Ursula tells Molly that she has a really bad feeling and she wants to check on her husband to see if he's okay. She leaves Molly in charge of everybody at the town hall and goes to investigate, running into Joanna, who tells her what happened with Kat. At the constables, the men discuss how Andre has no wallet or ID and how his clothes don't even have labels, which, how are they looking at that? Like, did they pants him? I don't know. Mike asks Robbie if Andre said anything that he shouldn't have known.
He said something about my mother. You don't need to know.
But he's not specific because he's a rat bastard. Hatch remarks that he doesn't think Andre is human.
Neither do I. I don't know what he is.
Robbie suggests that they kill him, but Mike does not budge because he is a good person. Ursula finally gets to the constables and discovers Peter. The men take her inside. Meanwhile, Kat's now inside the town hall, and the men are calling her a murderer, and all the women are defending her, basically saying, you've known her entire life, and she's a kind person. She would never do this. Something's wrong. Now, Joanna's mom, Cora, the one who dismissed the screaming, goes to the bathroom in the town hall. She's doing her little skincare routine with Andre's help. They're singing, I'm a little teapot, and lathering up. Say what you want about Andre, but the man knows how to do self-care. Comment below what products you think Andre uses. His skin is actually really fucking clear. Also note how Cora is literally doing nothing to her face. So anyway, the cane appears, and we see her turn the water on and pull out her lipstick. I don't know about you guys, but that is not in my nighttime routine. Sure enough, Cora is found face down in the sink, her body limp with the "give me what I want and I'll go away" written all over the mirrors. Mike and Ursula go back to the town hall to talk to people and discuss the recent deaths. Robbie is back at the constables, and instead of Andre in the jail cell, he sees his mother, and she's talking as though she were back on her deathbed. Robbie picks up a gun while the other guy is sleeping and everybody else is in another room. He walks towards her, and she continues to ask why he would leave her alone as she was dying. The men notice that Robbie has a gun, and they rush towards the door, which Andre slams shut with his mind. Robbie says, "Stop it or he'll shoot," and Andre says,
"With that?"
And the gun turns into a snake. Robbie drops it. Andre/Mommy gets up and says she's gonna eat his eyes out over and over and over in hell, because hell is repetition. And then she says,
"Born in sin? Come on in."
And he flies across the room. Andre drops the door from the cell, and the cane starts growling and shit and lights up the entire room and blows everything around like crazy. Everyone is fucking confused. Mike and some other fellas get back to the constables just as everything's going freaking wild. Andre is now significantly aged and wearing a hood. He honestly looks like Koopa Kid. He repeats, "Give me what I want and I'll go away" to Hatch, and then just walks off.
Maybe you should get rid of him. Make him have an accident.
It seems as though the worst is over and the town settles in for the night while the storm rages on. A creepy televangelist plays on the TV as everybody's kind of drifting off. He looks kind of familiar, doesn't he? Everyone drifts to sleep. We then see daybreak with the storm finally gone. It's a news story about how the entire 200-person population of Little Tall has suddenly disappeared, drawing a connection between Little Tall and the town of Roanoke. The newscaster also looks a little familiar. As he finishes his segment, he goes,
"But I know one thing. Davy, you're too damn short to play basketball."
Like, damn, Andre really just wants this kid to stop playing basketball, and I honestly think that is his main reason for going to this town. So yeah, that was a dream that the entire town shared that night, and Davy had to get flamed like that in that setting. Poor guy. Getting roasted in a collective dream. I mean, that's like next fucking level, man. And a dream hasn't stopped yet. Now it's showing everyone in the town walking towards the sea in the storm with Croton. God, I thought it was Croatoan. Croton? Whatever the fuck it is, the Roanoke thing. Written on their heads and apologizing to Andre. As they should for inconveniencing him, okay? Let's face it. Everyone wakes up to find out that they had the same dream. Mike realizes that the dream is supposed to be telling them that Andre is gonna make them commit mass if they don't give him what he wants. The next morning at breakfast, everyone gathers around to watch the lighthouse fall down. While they watch, people just start disappearing. Poof, they're gone. Mike screams at everybody to get back inside. At the daycare, the kids start saying, "I'm a little teapot," and Kat has like a little bit of a freak out, as anybody would after getting possessed and killing a loved one. The kids are all being rowdy and crazy, and Ralphie is looking towards the closet kind of strangely.
In here, very saddle boy. That's right.
Mike, cleaning up the toys, picks up a basket and finds like a set of letter blocks. He then spells out Linoge and begins to rearrange the letters. Mike tells a story from the book of Mark where a man with an unclean spirit meets Jesus. Jesus asks the man his name, and he says,
Our name is Legion, for we are many.
Jesus casts out the multitude of demons from this man into a herd of 2,000 swine, and they jump into the ocean to their graves. So I guess Andre's got some plans. When Mike makes this discovery, Ralphie walks towards the closet, and Andre's whispering, "Come on, Ralphie." Ralphie ventures into the dark closet, and that's the end of episode 2. The last episode starts with the men gathering food for the town and collectively agreeing not to tell anybody about the Legion discovery. Hatch and Ferd are honking the horn and calling for the missing people with no luck. Back at the daycare, one of the kids notices that Ralphie is gone. Molly yells at Robbie's wife that she was supposed to be watching him, and yeah, I agree. Meanwhile, Mike discovers Jane Kingsbury buried in the snow. Molly frantically searches for Ralphie and finds that he's gone into the closet. He's acting all nonchalant, saying that Andre was in there and that he's a good guy. I agree. Molly asks where Andre went, and Ralphie says,
"He must have disappeared when I turned my back. There's no door in there for a guy to go out of dumbkins."
Shut up, Don Beals.
Guess who his dad is? Not a DILF, that's for sure. Ralphie says that Andre gave him a little gift and reveals this little bag and says that it's for the entire island. A priest comes forward and says not to open it, but Molly refuses. It's a bag of white rocks and one black rock. Andre, you shouldn't have. Meanwhile, some guy asks Mike, why us? And he goes on this absolutely fucking wild rant, resulting in the line,
I guess there's just something about you that pisses me off.
Then Angie, who disappeared earlier, finally appears when they're looking for her. She says that they have to give Andre what he wants, but of course we don't know what the fuck that is, and she doesn't know either, so she's just kind of talking, and I should have more sympathy. I should be nicer, but tell us what the fuck you want, bitch. This could have been a lot simpler if you just said what you wanted. I guess he had to prove himself. Anyway, let's continue on. But Angie says that everyone has to come to the town hall that night and Andre will finally reveal what he wants. Back at the daycare, of course the kids are singing the Teapot song because there's nothing else that they can sing. I've had enough. I can't do it anymore. Back at the town hall, Angie tells everybody what happened to her. She says she was not taken by a human and she just completely fainted. But when she woke, she was flying and the cane was leading her. She says that she flew over the island and saw cops and mainlanders all searching for them, but they were all gone. One of the other people who disappeared got dropped from this little flight, fell out of the sky. But Andre brought Angie back so she could tell everybody that they need to give him what he wants. Like, okay, what is it, ho? At the daycare, the kids have gone completely catatonic. The cane is just behind Kat, and the kids keep talking about a doggy head, and the cane, instead of a wolf, has transformed into a cute little lab. The kids start walking up to go pet it, and as soon as they do it, they just fall to the ground. And the weird thing is, the cane is completely invisible to everybody else there. Only the kids can see it. And the kids are absolutely feral for this dog, man.
What's going on?
Let me go, you bitch!
Some people think that the kids are dead, but soon they realize that they're just dreaming, but can't be woken up. Then we catch a glimpse of that dream, which is flying through the clouds, holding hands with Andre. That night, Joanna goes around and lights a candle when Andre suddenly appears and insinuates that she's glad her mother's dead.
Glad the old bitch is dead, aren't you? I did you a favor there, didn't I? I can smell it on you like musk.
Mike walks into the room and finds Joanna levitating with 2 candles in her hands like a fucked up Lumiere. And Andre is threatening to burn her face off if Mike tries to get her down. I can't keep defending you, Andre. Andre talks to the town priest and says that he is doing something bad that a lot of priests do. Sorry, but it's true. And then he tells Mike,
Unless you want to see Mrs. Stanhope's impression of the world's biggest birthday candle, I advise you not to speak again until you're invited to.
come on, Andre again with the freaking wit. Where is his Netflix special? Andre says that good is an illusion and that Mike is a good boy to the last. But the town is full of pieces of shit and he will lose in the end. Mike asks what Andre wants and he just says he wants everybody in the town hall. And so the town hall finally fills up with the residents and the meeting begins. Andre makes his entrance and struts down the aisle. Purr. Ew. He looks at Davey, of course, and calls him and his dad out for gambling. He calls somebody else for burning down the business that fired him. And he calls out Jack and the other men who beat up that boy. Then he assumes the role of Robbie's mother again. Robbie pulls out a gun because he's a bitch.
Put that down.
And to tell everybody what he did when his mother was dying. And that his wife would be especially interested. Someone get the popcorn. Robbie cowers in a corner while Andre takes the stage like a real ham. He says that he came there because he knows these people can keep a secret. They ask what he wants. He begins to talk about the kids and shows the town what's really going on with them at that moment. Flying around. He explains that if he drops them there, they die here. Everyone agrees that they'll give him anything he wants if it means sparing the children. Andre then shows everybody what he really looks like. Old, sick, and dying. He is not immortal, and he specifically mentions that he will outlive Davy. Like, guys, what the fuck is this beef with Davy? I don't get it. Was he bad in a past life? I don't know. Or is it just the basketball? Anyway, he says that he needs a protege to pass down his knowledge to so that when he does die, his work can carry on. Therefore, Andre needs to take a child, and all the kids are just as likely. I don't think I believe that, frankly. Mike speaks up and says that they're not going to give him a kid, but everyone disagrees and just restrains him. Molly says they have no choice. Andre says that if they don't follow his instructions, the dream that they all had the other night is gonna come true and they will all die. He gives them half an hour to discuss. Andre leaves and Robbie opens up the discussion. At first, no one is talking, but some guy gets up and says that they have no choice. Someone asks if they can honestly believe that Linoge is telling the truth, and everyone believes that he's being honest about killing them all. Mike gets up and says that he agrees that Andre is not a man, and he's seen what Andre did to everybody he murdered. He says that it's morally reprehensible to give somebody like that a kid, that they should trust in God and each other and stand together against Andre. He and the priest angrily quote the Bible to each other, which I don't know why anybody's talking to this damn priest after what Andre said he's doing. But, alas, Mike asks how they could possibly live with each other if they gave Andre a kid. Robbie brings up the fact that Andre said that he will kill the kids if they say no, but Mike says that he could be bluffing, and everybody rebuffs him on that. They start explaining it away, saying that at least the kid who's gonna get taken isn't gonna die and they'll live a full life as a demon. They ask again how they'd live with each other if the kids died, but they survived. And Jack says, how will we live with you, directly to Mike? I mean, all Mike has done for you fuckers is care. I'm sick of these people. Mike says that they need to think about it carefully and then sits back down. Ursula says that they need to give him what he wants because even if it's her own kid, at least she knows it's alive. Mike pleads with the other parents and says that only the parents should vote. This other couple refuses and everybody ends up agreeing that everyone needs to vote. But Mike says that he's excluding Ralphie from the whole thing.
My son is not a part of this obscenity.
Yes, he is.
Molly stands up and says that they've never shirked their duty and they're not going to start now. Mike is pissed and he says he's going to take Ralphie and leave. Everyone descends upon him and restrains him. This freaking sucks, man. It really does. Molly rushes up to help and he turns around and he says,
Get away from me.
I don't know, guys. I think I'm siding with Mike here. I mean, it's bad. The whole thing is bad, but I just feel bad for him, okay? Hatch tries to tell Mike that one day he'll come around and that there's just no choice. Mike asks what happens if Andre chooses Hatch's kid.
Well, then I'll tell myself that she died as an infant, and I'll believe it.
Robbie calls the question. Everyone but Daddy Mike votes to give Andre a child. Andre returns, finds out their answer.
You've made the right choice.
He holds the bag of stones Ralphie had earlier. He asks for one parent of each kid to reach into the bag and grab a stone. Whoever draws the black stone will send their child away, and everybody else will be safe. The parents do as he says. Molly, of course, draws the black stone. Mike screams, and Molly is in disbelief and screams that she's not going to give Ralphie up. With a single look, Andre just launches her across the room and makes his little goodbye speech. He tells them not to say anything about what happened and transforms into his old self, making his grand exit. Of course, now Molly is screaming at Mike to do something even though he's restrained, and she was okay with it before Ralphie was chosen. Andre picks up Ralphie, and Molly says, "You tricked us."
Perhaps you tricked yourselves.
And that Ralphie's gonna call him father. Then he leaves, and Mike runs after him and watches them fly away, screaming that he'd do anything if he could just get Ralphie back. We return 5 months later to find Molly in therapy, saying that she thinks Mike is going to leave her and that they haven't boned since before the storm. The therapist asks what happened to Ralphie, and Molly tells the lie that Ralphie just disappeared in the storm. Then we see Mike talking to Hatch, saying that he's leaving. Hatch tries to console him, and Mike is unmoved. He leaves Little Tall. Bye, bitch. I'm with Mike. I stand with Mike. Mike then talks through a voiceover 8 years later. He and Molly divorced and he moved as far away as he could to San Francisco. He's in his glow-up era and becomes a federal marshal, but is still haunted by his memories. We find out that Hatch's wife died of a heart attack a year after the storm, and that Molly and Hatch ended up getting married. Jack and Angie also ended up divorcing, and Jack took his life, leaving all his belongings to the man he assaulted. Robbie's wife disappears. In the voiceover, Mike says,
This is a cash and carry world. Pay as you go. Sometimes you only have to pay little. Mostly, it's a lot.
Once in a while, it's all you have. We find Mike in San Francisco getting takeout. Some passerby is humming, I'm a little teapot, short and stout, and walking with a cane and a youngish boy. Mike hears the whispers and calls Ralphie's name. They stare back, and Ralphie hisses, revealing his demon teeth. They walk away, and Mike drops his food and runs after them, but loses him. He says that he thought about telling Molly that he saw Ralphie again, but decided against it.
Mostly late at night when I can't sleep. I think that was wrong, but in daylight, I know better.
And that's a fucking wrap. You guys, I don't know why Andre scared me so much as a child, because he literally did nothing wrong. But seriously, I think this miniseries presents an interesting take on how people convince themselves that they did the right thing even when they really didn't. What are your thoughts? Are you rooting for Daddy Mike like I am? Did Andre make you chuckle? I hope you enjoyed getting to know my childhood trauma a little better.
Shut up!